Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Coach Monken's weekly press conference as the Black Knights get set to take on Temple this Saturday at noon on CBS Sports Network and the Army Sports Network. Coach will begin with an opening statement and then take questions from those joining us here in NOAC and those joining us via teleconference. At this time, I'd like to introduce the head coach of the Black Knights, Jeff Monken.
Good afternoon, everybody. It was sure a thrilling victory on Saturday. Gosh sakes, just the agonizing feeling of that last drive and watching those guys take it down there and score and go for two but when we were able to make a play and finish the game there, it was awfully thrilling for all of us, certainly for our players. I was really proud of the effort that our guys put into that. And we didn't make plays a lot of times when we had opportunities or we would have liked to have made, and that's credit to Eastern Michigan. I thought they were a very physical team. I thought their guys played hard. They got a great plan on offense. It's completely different from what we do, but they're really good at what they do, and really admire the job that staff has done. And we were very fortunate to win the game. And like I said, I'm proud of our guys there at the end. We needed a play. We made one, and just an unbelievable play by James Gibson to come up and make that tackle and stop him a few inches short. So, and the onside kick, that was a big recovery. So 2 plays at the end when we needed them, and able to come away with victory. So head on into Temple, and Temple certainly is a very talented football team. It's a team that last year, to start the season, I mean, we really just tremendous respect for the program that they've built, the athletes that they have. And we knew last year when we played them it was going to be a battle, and it was. It was just a slugfest for 4 quarters. And I hope we can match their ability physically, just the pounding that they put on people physically for 4 quarters this year. And it's tough against teams like this. They're really good at running the football. They throw it a lot, and their kid does a great job. I was just on the way down looking at their passing statistics, and I mean, they've thrown it 245 times. I don't know if you add them all up in the 4 years I've been here, we've thrown it that many times, and they do it very effectively. A bunch of really good skill players. Their line is big and physical, and defensively, I mean, we got as much respect for them on defense as anybody we've played. And so it's going to be a real challenge. This is a tough football team, a team that won their conference last year. They'll have a ton of confidence, and I'm sure a feeling that they've got to come in and win this game. It's a game that we were able to come away with a victory last year at their place, and I'm sure they'd like to return the favor. And I know they see their opportunities to play in the postseason with the 5 games they have left, and they've got to win too, and they know that. And so it's going to be a real challenge, and I hope our guys are up to it. Saturday was a rock'em sock'em slugfest, and we got some guys that are not practicing today. They didn't practice on Sunday, and that just, I think, speaks to the great battle that it was on Saturday. So we're looking forward to being at home again and not having to travel for this game, and hopefully that'll help us as well.
Rich?
Darnell Woolfolk coming back, just your thoughts on what he was able to give you and how healthy is your team this week?
Darnell did a really nice job. Played probably a few more snaps than we anticipated. Really, we were hoping for between 10 and 15 plays total. He got 9 carries, and I thought he did a really nice job with those carries. His knee was a little sore, but not, didn't swell up, didn't have any ill effects that will set him back. We're still expecting him to play this week again and probably get more work this week in the game. Overall, a little banged up, particularly up front on offense. We got 3 starters that aren't practicing today. Hopefully we'll have all 3 of them back on Saturday. I'm not sure I think 2 of them for sure we will have. The third, not positive, very, very questionable at this point. And just our lack of depth altogether at some positions. Our defensive line now with Andy McLean out. Obviously the secondary has been depleted from starting last year, and just slowly it's chipped away at us. And so hopefully we'll again be able to come up with a combination that works for us. And we're a little worse off than we were when we started last week, but we'll see by the end of this week where we're at. Hopefully we can kind of be in a similar situation.
And what was your evaluation of the secondary after watching the film against Eastern Michigan, and how much is it similar of a challenge with Temple and how they like to throw the ball?
It's going to be a challenge for us throughout the year, just trying to find the right combination of guys and working those guys through the gaining of experience. And we can prepare guys in practice and have them prepared fundamentally, but to go in there and to have to do the job that they do is not easy. And we had some struggles on Saturday, and everybody saw that. And you know, it's not that our guys aren't trying and not playing hard. They are. They're giving a great effort. This Eastern Michigan made some really good plays, some really good catches, and they did it a few times against some guys that don't have as much experience as others. And so, you know, yeah, with that said, we had a couple other guys that have plenty of experience, and they missed on some plays too. So, you know, it's our job as coaches to have them prepared. And you know, it's not going to work out every single time when you got a very talented player that's running around in space, and you put a guy on him and say, hey, you got to cover this guy, and you can't let him catch one ball, and you can't let him, you can't let him block you the whole day. You know, they're going to make some plays too. And like I said, there were some opportunities out there where we didn't make plays, and it's disappointing to see that happen. But we made some, and we made them down there at the end when it counted, and hopefully we'll have ourselves in that position again that we can be in the game and have a chance to make a play to win it.
Go ahead, Joe.
Joe from WKDT, Coach. I don't recall during our time together that we've come up with an overtime situation. Would you be more comfortable kicking the point and going into overtime? Obviously, the Eastern Michigan coach wasn't. How would you do it?
I think it just depends on the game. We went to overtime against Buffalo last year.
Bowl game.
Yeah, the North Texas Bowl game last year.
I missed that one.
So I guess the bowl game last year, we went for it on 4th down, and I think it just depends on how it's going, how you've been playing the whole day, and I think being on the road and having to come from behind there at the end, I think it was a great call on his part, a gutsy call on his part, and he probably sitting here thinking, gosh, I wish I'd just kicked an extra point. But if he makes the 2-point conversion, we have very little time to drive the ball down to get in field goal range, and it would obviously take us out of our element. We'd have to throw the ball and push it down there, and that's not how we move the ball typically. So I thought it was a really smart move, and I anticipated it the whole way. When they got the ball and started moving, as soon as they hit the 50-yard line, I flipped over to offense to Brent and said, look, you know, let's get the offense together and talk to them about 1-minute offense, because I think they'll go for 2, and we're going to have to go down and score. And they did. And fortunately, we stopped them, so we didn't have to rely on that.
Yeah, the Gibson tackle was awesome. I mean, we were up in the press box, and everybody was going nuts, even though you're not supposed to cheer there. And did you get a special star for that?
A special star?
Some sort of special pat on the head, something?
We're going to feed him this week.
Okay.
Go ahead, John.
Well, there's certainly different philosophies. It'll be interesting just to see what they do defensively. We are not sure. We can only anticipate, and that's kind of the case with most teams, unless it's been somebody we've played year in and year out, or we have had a chance to see play other option teams. Then we've got an idea, but it was really a guessing game. Gosh, maybe half the games we played this year. We really didn't know what Fordham was going to be in. We thought Buffalo would line up like they did against us last year. We weren't sure completely about Ohio State. We had a pretty good idea against Tulane because they had played Navy. We didn't know against UTEP if they would run the same defense that they did a year ago because we had run for so many yards. We thought they might change their philosophy altogether. Rice lined up in a different defense than we had practiced for, and Eastern Michigan was a little bit different. So I think we just try to gain the best idea we can from what they've done against traditional offenses, and then hope that we've got a good enough plan in place that if we've got to adjust that we can. And offensively, they're different. They've got some different people playing positions, different quarterback, and but it's still similar in that our defense has got to line up and rush the passer against guys that are a lot bigger than us, and do that often. They do it every day, and then the receiving crew and the running backs that they have, they're very skilled, and maybe more skilled, more talented than maybe every team we've played since Ohio State. I mean, they're a good football team, and so we got a lot of respect for Temple, and you just got to respect the change that's happened there over the last decade to become the program that they are.
And when you guys getting ready for this game from a secondary perspective, I know not a ton of experience back there, but nothing replaces game experience that those guys might have picked up this year, especially against pass-oriented teams, kind of like Buffalo and like Eastern last week. When you look at the amount of times they like to throw the ball, do you have a little bit more, I don't know if I want to say confidence, but a little bit more trust in those guys, knowing that they have played against teams that are pass-heavy, similar to what Temple's going to be doing?
I think every time our guys play, they're going to get better, and the more they do it, and you're going to make mistakes. You learn from those mistakes if they're paying attention and they care, which I think they are, and they do care that they're going to get better, and they're going to really look with a discerning eye and see the things that they can do better, and listen to the coaches and the things that they're correcting them on, and if they do that, I'm confident they're going to get better. And so hopefully we'll see improvement this week, and we'll continue to see improvement as we go through the year.
And what is it? I know you always talk about Ahmad's leadership and ability on the field. He might not be the fastest guy, the strongest guy every time, but what does he do so effectively that lets him run the triple option as well as he does? And I think he's top 10 in the country in rushing and all that, and constantly over 100 yards rushing for you guys. What is he that he does so well to execute the offense?
He typically puts us in the right play. He makes good decisions. He's very poised. He doesn't get rattled very often. He's a very strong inside runner. So when he's got to turn up into the box to run the midline or the quarterback ISO, or he gets it on the edge, like the long run that he had on third down coming away from the scoreboard, I guess that was maybe in the third quarter. It was a really strong run. He ran through an arm tackle kind of as he went by, and then a guy tried to pull him down, and he was able to pull away from that one. And as you said, he's not the fastest guy on the field where when he gets out there, he's just going to blow by everybody, but he's a strong enough runner. He's hard to bring down, and very valuable to us because those first and second level tacklers are big guys, and they get their hands on your legs, and they grab your shirt, and he's able to power through some of those, much like our B-backs are, and fall forward and get extra yards.
And I think it was this time last week you were saying you had some trick plays up your sleeve. We saw one last week, and just poor execution on the perfect execution on the pass, not on the catch. Is that frustrating or encouraging when it's executed almost to the very last second?
Oh, there's nothing good about it when it doesn't work. I mean, everybody says, "Gosh, this is a great idea. Wish it would have worked," and it would have made a big difference in the game. I think it was a fourth down play. We're on their end, would have kept the drive alive, and hey, they're all trying to make a play, and unfortunately, we just didn't look the ball all the way in, and it hit the ground. But fortunately, it didn't. We didn't have to pay the ultimate price for it, and hopefully he'll learn from that and get better.
Thanks.
So,
what has James Narkle brought to the defense in the last few games?
James is a very physical player. He was a guy that a year ago we had we got a group of players we send in at times on passing downs, and we were sending he and Kalen Holt and guys that we thought were pass rusher type guys, athletic guys, and he was part of that package because we just felt like he's a really good player that we wanted to get on the field, and now with Timph and King having graduated, we wanted to find a way to play him every down, and he's had some struggles this season, certainly at the first part of the season, and he changed positions from outside backer to inside backer, and again, it's getting that game experience. But as we were talking about the secondary, he's a guy that each week he's going to continue to improve and get better, play in that position. He's going to learn from mistakes and see things better, and he's just such a physical, fast football player, plays the game really fast. And again, I don't know if you line up and ran a race, if he's going to beat everybody else on the field, but he pursues the ball with a lot of energy and a lot of intensity, and he cares a lot about winning and being the best he can be.
all right, we'll open questions to those joining us via teleconference. Please state your name and organization and ask your question.
Yes, this is Charles Grievous with GoBlackKnights.com. Good afternoon, Coach. From where I sit, Temple's 3-4 record, and even their loss last Saturday to UConn, is not really a true indicator of the potential of their team. Is this one of those games or type of games where, on a good day, Temple could really put it all together and present problems on both sides of the ball if you're not fully prepared?
If we're not fully prepared and we don't play as well as we're capable of playing, Temple can flat out embarrass us. They could beat us as bad as we've been beaten. They're talented enough to do that, and it, I know who we are. If we're going to win, we're going to have to play really, really well, play our assignments, play our fundamentals, play tough, and hope some things go our way. And as you said last week, they lost to UConn. They threw a pick six and some things that went the other team's way, and I hope we'll be the beneficiary of some things that go like that, because again, who we are physically compared to them, it's not going to be close. So we're going to have to play really, really well.
And my follow-up and final question, and just from a comparative standpoint, needless to say, Andrew King and Jeremy Timph were integral parts of the 2016 defense that finished fourth overall in the nation in total D last year. That being said, can you talk about the job that Christensen and Nautical and Walsh have done in their place this season?
I think those guys have really done a nice job. Obviously, they're not going to be making plays and maybe mentally be the same as two guys that started for 3 years. Those two guys became really efficient because they knew what they were doing, and they could play really fast. Andrew King, just one of the smartest players we've ever coached. He would always have himself in the right position, and frankly, he'd have just everybody else on the defense about in the right position too, because he knew what everybody's job was. He knew where everybody's fit was, what their rush lanes were supposed to be, the blitzes. He could make the checks and adjust people, and I mean, he was at a completely different level. But that's not where he was as a sophomore, and Jeremy was a much different player as a senior than he was as a sophomore. Jeremy needed a lot of help as a sophomore, getting lined up and getting in the right gap, and he'd probably deny that if he was sitting here, but it's the truth. And I see guys like Nautigal and Christensen are playing for the first time. They're going to learn, and they're going to get better. And I think as we go through this season and those guys continue their career, they're going to improve and get better as well. And hopefully, a year from now, they're kind of the same types of players that King and Timpf were.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Coach. Ken Crater, Sons of America Legion Radio. I was just going to ask you about Temple's new head coach, Jeff Collins. Comes out of University of Florida, has experience from a lot of places. You're probably familiar with Alabama and Georgia Tech. What are your thoughts about what Coach Collins emphasizes?
He is such a well-respected coach, and when he got the Temple job, it wasn't surprising to me. I had heard his name in the years leading up to this season. I had heard his name several times about other head coaching jobs, and you knew that when a guy like he is getting mentioned so many times in so many different places around the country, that there's something pretty special about the guy. And it's not easy to walk into a program like he did that had so much success, had built their program up, had a coach that won the conference championship, leaves for another job, and out the door with him are a bunch of seniors and players that had been a big part of their success to get to that point, and to come in and build a new team with a new staff, with a lot of fresh faces, is not easy. But you can see the intensity and the level of detail that they're coaching with. That comes through in the film. And as you guys know, I'm very into special teams. I coach on all the special teams and very involved in the schemes, and so I watch very intently to those plays of our opponents, and it's always, I guess it shouldn't be surprising, the teams that I watch that are the most detailed, that are the most sound on special teams, that are doing the little fundamental things on those plays that make a difference, are the teams that either are or are going to be very successful, and that's clear when I watch them on special teams. They're very well coached. They play some of their starters on special teams. It's obviously an important piece to their program, and so I really admire the things that he's doing to build his team this year. And as I said, they've had some unfortunate breaks, and they're a really talented team. And if we don't play our best, if we don't do a great job of preparing our team, they're a team that's talented enough and well coached enough to beat the stuffings out of us.
And Coach, two freshmen we see getting playing time in your defensive secondary. Justin Thomas, number 9, was in at the end last week, and Javari Bourdeaux has been in a cornerback. How do you see those two players fitting in and gaining experience?
They're kind of that, with that group of guys like Mike Reynolds, who's getting a lot of snaps for the very first time. They're playing because we've had a lot of guys hurt, and we've had a lot of guys, cycle through with Jalen Sharp being hurt early in the year, and with Elijah Riley being out, and Ryan England being injured. There's a lot of guys getting time back there that are probably guys that would be second string, not as many snaps as they're getting now. Big special teams guys, but they're kind of thrown into the fire. So they're going to improve, and they have probably as much upside as anybody we're playing with because they are freshmen. They're young, and their improvement is going to happen, especially when they start to understand the defense better. I'm sure, like most freshmen, they're just trying to survive. They're just trying to remember what they're supposed to do and play with good fundamentals and not get beat deep and get embarrassed. And once they get maturity and some experience under their belt, I think they'll really be good players. I think both of them are talented enough for sure.
Coach, a final thought, is there any update on Ryan England?
He's improving. He's not going to play this week, but we are optimistic that he could be ready to play in the next game when we travel. So we still got 2.5 weeks before that one, and hopefully that's going to be enough time for him to be prepared and ready. I know he wants to play. There's no doubt he wants to be out there.
Thank you, Coach.
John Kikas of the Associated Press. Coach, how important was last year's win over Temple since it started the season?
It was an important win for last year's team, that's for sure. To start out 1-0 and to beat a team that everybody was talking about and ended up being the conference champion in the American. It was a great win going into that game and then showing up there on that Friday night and watching those guys come out on the field and thinking, holy smokes, those guys look good, and the way they play, they're very physical and fast, and just to be able to win that game was huge for our team to start it. To win the opener, to have some success early was really important for us, and especially to have that success over a team like Temple. For what it does for this season, nothing. It's a different team. We're a different team, and we're going to have to prepare this team to play this year's Temple's team. And Temple is, again, very talented, very physical, and very well coached. So it's really hard to win a game here. Really hard to win any game here. But when you play a team where you can see a great disparity physically between the guys we're playing with and the guys they're playing with, you've got to do everything right. And we feel that way about Temple, certainly. Just like we did against Ohio State, we knew we were going to have to do everything right. They were so much better physically.
Thanks, Coach.
Any other questions from the teleconference? Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, Jeff, I know you're going to miss us next week because obviously with no game, there won't be a press conference. But is this the right time for a bye? Is this a good time as opposed to, say, week 2 or something like that?
The right time would be about every other week. We could just have 2 weeks to prepare for everybody. We'd get nice and healthy. But I hope we can find a way to limp into Saturday and be healthy enough, especially with those linemen, to play on Saturday. And yeah, we need a bye week. I mean, 8 straight games is a good stretch. So, and we've taken some trips, and the trip to Rice, getting back here at 4:30 in the morning, I mean, it takes it out of you. And there's I think a cumulative effect of the travel and the physical beatings. And so, like I said, we're going to need to be healthy. We're going to need to play our best this week if we're going to have a chance to win. But it'll be nice to get some rest.
And how many days off for the team next week?
We'll practice on Sunday as we normally do, day after the game, and then we'll take Monday and Tuesday off, and we'll come back and practice the rest of the week through Friday, and then take the following weekend off as well, Saturday and Sunday. And hopefully our guys will use that wisely and get some rest.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. A reminder that the This Week in Army Football Coaches Show will be Wednesday night at 7 p.m.